Does my hat look crooked? I'm trying to figure out why my hat looks crooked. Damn, I bought a crooked hat. Anyway, it's your boy Francis Joseph Lamana from newsbuffet.com. I'm back here in the Tapestry studio. But I got to tell you, I'm not feeling real spiritual today. It's snowing here again, and sometimes, people people kind of wear on you. People kind of get on your nerves, and I'm going to start. That's where I'm going to start this. I had, first of all, let me say this. I taught early childhood education for about 5 or 6 years. And I have master's level education in early childhood education. Okay. I was going to be a teacher of early childhood education. So I worked with children that were between the ages of 3 and 5. That was my age range. Um, for whatever happened, that didn't come to fruition, but that's where my career started out. And I could tell you that nobody loves children or cares for children more than I do. And it's not because I'm educated in that field. It's not because I worked in that field. It's because of something inside me, which is what drew me to that field to begin with. So, if you have something in you where you have a natural connection with kids and you could reach them, pursue it. I have it with kids. And so people get offended by that, especially women. So before I get into that, I just want to say that I went to visit someone, a child, who wasn't feeling well in the hospital. And, you know, I have a busy day ahead of me and I have a lot of stuff going on that I have to do. But, this person's close to me. So I wanted to go there, show some support, give him the gifts that I bought for him. He's having whatever done. And, I get to the hospital and I got to check in because I got to let them know that I'm here. I'm here to see so and so. His mother and father are in the room. Well, hold on a second. Let me call. So the phone call. So I'm standing there another 3 4 minutes while she's on the phone, and so she's like, we only allow two people in the room. If you don't mind, you want to sit down here in the waiting room. So it's not an issue. Whatever. I'm here to see the child. That's why I'm there. All I want to do is give him his gift, say hello, give him a kiss, tell him I love him, and leave. So I sit down, and then, I get a call. Hey, listen, I'm going to leave the room, so you can come in and say hi quick. So I go in there. And then on the way out, I'm saying goodbye to the person, right, to the kid's father. And, there's a nurse that's like walking down the hallway and she's already like I could see like the attitude in her face. She's already got an attitude. She has a job to do and she probably should just go and do that job, but she's got an attitude about something. And she's looking and she's walking and she's looking and she probably should have just walked right to the job that she probably had to do, but she didn't. She stopped and she turned and she looks at the other person and she's like, "Who are you?" Now, there's ways of talking to people. When you approach somebody and you address somebody like they're doing something wrong or like they don't belong where they are, or like you're above them. When you talk to people, there's a certain, you know, there's a certain tone in your voice that you have to have. There's a certain way that you should come across, especially when you work in the medical field or any type of field where you're dealing with people on a daily basis. If that is your job, dealing with the public in whatever manner, you should really have or be considerate of the way that you talk to people. Because you know what? You're going to come across people sometimes that aren't going to be in a good mood either. And you're not going to like what they have to say. Hi, I'm so and so. I'm the whatever position here in the children's ward. Do you guys need help? Can I be of any assistance? Are you lost? Are you looking for a room? That's how you address somebody. You don't come stomping over like a Gestapo asking people who they are. It's rude. It's rude. It's inconsiderate, and it's just nasty. It's not nice. So, and I'm going to be honest. I called her a piece of shit. And you know what? Sometimes people need to hear that. I don't make that a habit, but you know what? Sometimes people need to hear that, especially in the medical field. And that's what I'm going to get into next. You know, since COVID, since 2019, 2020, since we had the issue with COVID, employees of the medical field, and I'm not going to say doctors, but I'm going to say nurses, assistants, people that are associated with the medical field that really didn't really, that aren't really doctors. I'm talking about like, you know, associates, nurse, people of that nature, but I'm going to say the medical field in general. You've got such an ego. You got such an ego since COVID, and you think that you're the savior of the world, but you're really not. You need to kind of come down a few pegs, and you really need to start talking to people like you would like to be talked to. And we got where we got to during COVID. You see, everybody blamed the government during COVID. The government's making us take injections and vaccines. The government's forcing vaccines on us. The government's forcing us to wear masks. The government's forcing us to stay in our houses. Well, you know what? I don't know what the state of the world was, but in the United States, I can't sit here and blame the government. COVID was a pivotal time in our country's history because the people for once needed to take a stand. We are not going to live in a country, and we are not going to have our children and their children living in a country where medical care can be forced upon you against your will. So it was time for people to stand up. It really was. And what happened is nobody wanted an issue. Okay, so if the government's providing federal dollars to your organization and the federal government tells you, look, if you want to keep getting money from us, you're going to have to make your employees wear a mask and you're going to have to make your employees get vaccinated, whether they want to or they don't. The people were straight up strong armed into vaccinations and mask wearing. Okay. Now, those people had a choice. They could have said, you know what? I'm not going to force my employees to do anything. I'm going to give them the choice. But nobody went that route. You see, the money stayed with the money, and people looked for avenues to exploit COVID and how they could make more money off of it. Nobody really, when it came down to it, nobody cared about the rights of the people. Nobody cared about that. So it wasn't really the government, it was people. You got a vaccine and you wore a mask and you felt so self-righteous because of that and so powerful because it was the movement at the time and you were feeding off of that wave of energy that you policed the people around you. You policed your neighbors, you policed your friends, you policed your family. Oh, don't come near me. You don't got to, you ain't vaccinated. Don't come near me. Don't come near me. And the hospitals were at the forefront during that time. Half of them were lying about emergency rooms being filled up, statistics, deaths. So you got a little bit of an ego during that time because you got to feel what the power felt like a little bit. But that's that's all waning now. That's all done. So now it's time to come down off your high horse. You're a nurse at a hospital and you work in a medical field. And let's face it, there's a lot of cures out here. I was just listening to a guy named Emery that was talking the other day on Coast to Coast AM, and Emery's telling us we've got the technology out right now that we could time travel. We could cure sexually transmitted diseases. We can cure AIDS. We can cure cancer. They won't let him put that out. They're not going to let him give that to the people. But if you listen to the interview, he's telling you, well, the global elites are using it. He'll tell you who's been in it, who's sitting in the machine, who's getting toxins removed from their body. So take it down a notch. Take it down a notch. And you know what? If you, like I said, if you're in a field where you deal with people every day, you can't treat people respectfully with dignity or the way that you would like to be treated, then maybe you're in the wrong field. And I'm not perfect, but you know what? At least I'm kind of conscious of the way that I approach people sometimes. I might not have the greatest patience because sometimes I get fed up, but it's just BS, man. It's just BS. So where am I? Okay, so let me get into the technology part after that now. So a lot of people complain that they don't like technology. And it's not that people don't like technology, I don't think. The issue with technology is that technology sells you on the idea that it's safe and that it connects you to the whole world. But it does the exact opposite. It's not really safe and it doesn't really connect you, it isolates you. I'm 45 years old. I'm single. I'm in the dating world. I know, man. I talk to girls. I talk to people that are on apps. You're on an app, and you're looking at a picture of somebody. You don't know whose account that is. You don't know if that person is that picture. You have no idea where they're from, who they are, what they're doing, or what their intent is on the internet. But you're going to get on that app and you're going to talk to them and you're going to tell them how old you are. You're going to tell them where you live, what you like, what your kinks are, what you're into. You're going to share all of this information and you don't even know who that is. It's not safe. You want to know what's safe? Leaving your house, despite what they tell you. getting in your car and driving to the bar. That's safe. You're going to go in, you're going to sit down, you're going to ask for a drink. And you know what? The guy or the girl next to you is going to sit down and you're going to talk to that person. And then you're going to see who that person is. And if you like that person and you feel a connection with that person, you're going to probably exchange numbers. That's safe than using the internet. And it's not connecting us to the entire world. I said this the other day. Cell phones are robbing us from a human experience that you would never know existed unless you lived during a time where there was no cell phones. You wouldn't even know what it was like. Today, everybody's got their heads down and in their phones. You get upset, what do? You watch a video on your phone. You call somebody, you text somebody. You couldn't do that back in the day. If you were upset, you had to deal with the problem. You couldn't hide or with behind a video in the phone. You had to deal with the problem. Kids 13, 14, 15 years old, there's an argument on the playground, you get pissed, you sit down, you watch a video. That didn't happen years ago. Years ago, man, like I got an issue with something. I got to talk about it. There was no phone to hide in. And that's what made people healthier. That's what made people healthier because they had to talk out their problems. They had to iron out their problems. They had to interact with people. And it's not, like I said, people complain about the technology. And it's not that I hate technology or that a lot of people hate technology. It's just that a lot of people see the side of it. And then when you hear that global elites or people with enough money are getting to use technology that allows them to travel through time and that can cure STDs, AIDS, cancer, whatever. You're giving us a cell phone that probably is putting cancer in our brains, and you're sitting in a chair that cures cancer. I got to go to the hospital and pay $300,000 to have chemo done to my body and have shit cut out of my body. But you're going to sit in a chair and you're going to let gamma radiation or some type of high level radiation clear that toxin out of your body. Give us that. Oh, you can't, because the medical field needs you to be sick. Because if they gave us the technology to cure our problems, how's the medical field going to make money? How's the nurse with the attitude going to have her ego? You see how it works? If people decided to get along and stop fighting, there would be no need for police. There would be no need for jails. There would be no need for courts. There would be no need for lawyers. There would be no need for judges. There would be no need for law school. If all of a sudden we woke up tomorrow and we just said, you know what? Everybody's just going to love everybody. We'd be free. But no. The system, if there isn't a problem, they create one. They have to, because they need the problem to feed the beast. They need crime to keep the system going. They need you to be sick to keep the hospitals open. So, and you know what? I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said 1,000 times over. I'm not saying anything that hasn't been said 1,000 times over or a few thousand times over. This is obvious shit. People just play stupid. Because every time somebody comes out and starts speaking the truth, then people have a choice to either rally with that person or distance themselves and say, hey, you know what? He's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's out of his mind. They ignore that so that they could put their heads down and keep going. But you know what? We have people right now that we voted in office that aren't putting their heads down. Guys like RFK, he is going after the fact that we're targeted on, through the TV, like how we're targeted for prescriptions and the whole medical thing. And if you listen to him speak, he's really out to make America healthier. He really is. I think he said that the United States and Australia are like two places in the world that have commercials on TV about prescription medications. There's only like a couple, like it's us and one other country, and coincidentally, we're the two sickest nations in the world. So, and then he cornered Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders is trying to say that Big Pharma didn't give him any money during his campaign. Bullshit. We know that that's a lie. Bernie Sanders tried to lie about it until he finally cornered him. So, there's a lot of people that are doing good. It ain't, if you still think that this is about Democrat and Republican and no, man, no. There are people in government that are not good. And there are people in government that are good. And they're on both sides. So, government employees. Government employees. Look, the country has gotten so out of hand. Government employees probably should be making, and this isn't a lie. Government employees probably should be making minimum wage. They should be living in the inner cities, and they should be taking mass transit to work or public transportation. You decided to serve the public. The government in this country, the United States of America, was created for the people, by the people. It's a constitutional republic. It is not a democracy. It is not a democracy. We have democratically elected leaders, but our government is not a democracy. It is a constitutional republic. And I'm not going to get into all of that. But what I am telling you is that when people go into government, they're not going into it because it's a glamorous job. You are going into government, a system created for the people, by the people. We are putting you in power to protect and preserve our way of life, to ensure that we have the liberty and the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. That is why you are in office. You aren't in office to police us. You're not in office to infringe on our lives. You're not there to make us take vaccinations and wear masks. You're not there to do a lot of things that you do. And you damn sure ain't supposed to be making $500,000 a year, $75,000 cost of living increase, collecting 6 pensions, robbing the system blind. Come on. We came from British royalty. You're not British royalty. It ain't a glamorous job. You're not supposed to be flying on a fucking G, whatever. You're in office to serve the people. Hi, how can I help you? What can I do for you? How can I be of assistance? You ever get a government employee on the phone? They treat you like shit. They rush you like you know all the answers. Zero patience. And everything's a process. You wait forever. Well, then why do you take the job? The size of the government has gotten too big in this country. The size of the government is it's too big. Every time something goes on, they create an agency for it, they take tax dollars for it, and then they increase the size of government. They do it all the time. That ain't creating new jobs. That ain't helping the economy. Creating new jobs by increasing the size of government, that's not helping the economy. That doesn't help us. That's recycled money. We need new money. We need to produce. We need to make. We need to manufacture. We need to export. Oh, well, you know, so and so just created 100,000 new jobs. There's 12 new organizations within the federal government. And you know what? Your taxes are going to go up $1 billion this year. That's not how it's supposed to be. It's not how it's supposed to be. And there was a time when people in this country had a real say over where their tax dollars went. There was a time in this country when people used to meet in their communities or with their officials and they would vote on where they wanted their taxes to be allocated to. Now they just take it and put it wherever they want. And then if you get an organization like BLM or Antifa, you get one of these far left organizations, and that's what they're fighting for. That's what they fight for. Government dollars. You know, we'll destroy the country unless you put us on the payroll. Not good, man. Not good. So I want to finish this video on a high note. I can't be on here all day because I have a ton of stuff to do, but I do want to say this. I can't believe how it's not a secret that marriage has been waning over time. Oh, before I get into this, I just want to say this because I forgot to say this before. I was getting to this point, but I never got to it. Just because you're a man, that doesn't mean that you're incapable of being emotional, nurturing, loving. And that's what I was getting at before with kids and working with kids. And you know, a lot of women think because they're women that's their role to care for and nurture. And when you have a man that can care for and nurture, all of a sudden it becomes like a problem. It becomes a competition. Well, who can love the kid more? Like what like men can love, men could be emotional, men could nurture their kids, their children. There's a lot of good fathers and good dads in this world. So that's the point that I was getting at. Now, anyway, but women and some women get offended by that. Oh, he's a man. Oh, he can't possibly do the job. He can't possibly work with children. He's a man. How could he? He doesn't have that rapport with kids. So, marriage in general has been waning over time for whatever reason. You used to go to church, you get married, or you to the town hall or wherever, and you made an agreement till death do us part, through sickness and health, for better or for worse. And you know, and you took this pledge to stay together for the rest of your life. And then people would get in these relationships, both men and women, not just women, but both men and women would get in these relationships and they would be abusive. They would be like crazy, and they would go to the church for counseling and then the church would make them stay together and it would get crazy and they would have to go back to the church and work it out. Maybe that was good, maybe that's bad. I'm not here to debate that. What I'm saying is that over the years, marriage in general seems to be losing popularity. There's it's rare for two people to be together for 30, 40, 50 years through death and health and sickness, for better and for worse. It's rare for that to happen. And I can't believe that nobody, well, at least in the metaphysical or the astrological world, hasn't tied in the correlation between planet Sedna coming back into the solar system, will reach its closest approach to the sun in 2076. And then it's going to leave and go back out to the other side of a place that we don't even know exists. It orbits our sun, and it comes into the solar system and it goes outside of the solar system. And its orbital period is 11,400 years. So when it reaches its closest approach to the sun in 2076, it's going to be in a place that it hasn't been in thousands of years. And it's really interesting to me, if you know the mythology behind Sedna, which is the name of the planet also, then you would say, hey, you know what? There's like some real similarities here in the correlation between the arrival of this planet and the fact that marriage isn't as popular as it once was. And nobody ever brought that up, but I'm doing it. I'm bringing it up now. So I'm going to raise your awareness and your attention to that. I would definitely read into whether you're into astrology or you're not into astrology. It doesn't matter. All you really need to know is that there's a planet orbiting our sun and it's coming into the solar system. Well, it has been, for the last however many years, but I think it really I think it was 2022 or 2020, around there, it got in range. And by the time it reaches the peak of that range, it's going to be 2076. I think they call it a perihelion, which is its closest approach to the sun. But it's far out. It orbits outside of Pluto and Neptune's orbit. It's the furthest out in terms of orbiting around other planets that orbit around the sun and in its orbit itself. So that's all you really kind of need to know, and that the orbital period of this planet is 11,400 years. The last time it was here, we were in the age of, I think, Leo. It was the time of the biblical flood of Noah. That's what the time was. If you're familiar with the flood story of Noah, then you'll know the time period. So there's a lot of history that has gone by since it's been here. And I think it's really interesting because they call it Sedna, Sedna, and the last three letters are DNA. And according to my numerology system, Oculus 13, the numerology of the last four letters, DNA, is 411. 411 was the telephone code for information. DNA is information. 411 is information. So lots going on. I wanted to end it on a high note. I probably did a lot more complaining than I should have, but there's some stuff that I think I just wanted to get out and off my chest today. So you know what? You have a good day. Don't forget to tune in and visit newsbuffet.com whenever you get a chance, and I'll talk to everyone later. Bye. Have a good day.